What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I'm back with you today because today is day 9 of training camp. However, today there really isn't anything to talk about as far as training camp goes, because there wasn't really much of a practice. It was just walkthroughs, so there really is nothing to actually discuss there. So instead, there are a couple other things that I do want to talk about though. So, this video is going to be labeled as day 9 of training camp. But considering the fact that there's really nothing to discuss as far, there's no play-by-plays because there's no plays. It's just a walkthrough. There are no fans there. I'm pretty sure that, I don't even know how much the media is really there. I mean, there's, it was the media that put out, tweets and stuff, but there's not a lot going on. So anyway, it's going to be day 9, but there's going to be other things to talk about. So let's go ahead and split this so I can show you the first thing that I want to discuss. It's this tweet from Barry Jackson, where the Dolphins bring back long snapper Rex Sunahara for the 206th time, or something like that. Obviously, he's being funny. Insurance for Blake Ferguson. So Blake Ferguson obviously was 2020 6th round pick by the Dolphins, and he came in to replace Tabor Pepper, who was John Denny's replacement. So yeah, and look, they cut Rex Sunahara recently, right? And I gave the Dolphins credit for that individual move as a smart move because, it actually says good things then about, spells good things for the 2020 6th round pick of yours. And as you guys know, if you watch my channel, I don't think this regime is very good at player evaluation. I don't think they're good at player development, prioritizing, drafting, any of that. And if you also have watched my content, you know that I don't give good grades to their draft classes to this point because, what we have seen from them, to be fair, the 2021 draft class hasn't even touched the field yet, so they don't get a grade. Their grade is, not applicable at this moment. But, so far for the 2019 draft class doesn't look very good. The 2020 draft class, definitely needs to take some big steps forward, and I'm not really, I'm not really convinced that they're gonna. They've already cut 3 players from their first 2 drafts. I have like 5 or 6 players that could be potential cuts from all 3 of their drafts, right? So, I liked the move when they cut him because then that meant, Blake Ferguson was probably going to be all right. Well, I don't know about that at this point because, they brought him back. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows? We'll see. When the season comes around, I'm pretty sure we'll only have 1 long snapper on the roster, and we'll see who it ends up being. I mean, if they end up cutting another one of their draft picks, then obviously that doesn't say good things about their draft classes, right? So we'll just see how all that pans out. And it would just be more wasted draft capital and wasted resources. So anyway, spent enough time on that. The next thing that I actually want to talk about is a combination of 2 things. And so those 2 things, let's go ahead and swap over to it. As you can see here, it's stuff dealing with Xavier Howard based off of, and look, there's Armando Salguero. Dolphins have a walkthrough practice today, about 1 hour, so really nothing. But some comments from Brian Flores regarding Xavier Howard. And then, Pro Football Focus put this out. Brian Flores is keeping Xavier Howard in Miami with a little, writing emoji or whatever, because part of his quote was, "We don't want to trade X, write that down." Okay, so a lot of people are really getting up in their emotions and stuff, and jumping to definitive conclusions based off of this when there is absolutely no definitive answer in this whole saga, right? So what I mean by that is people are because Brian Flores emphatically said write that down, people are writing into stone that Xavier Howard is not going anywhere. Again, and I'll say this, right? Of course, I absolutely hope that that's the case. I think the Dolphins are stupid for having put themselves in this situation to begin with by overpaying Byron Jones, resetting the cornerback market, depleting their own cap space by being big spenders in free agency, etc., etc. Not even coming to the fucking table, especially when Xavier Howard is offering up win-win solutions for him and the organization, right? So, and all of that is part of the context, right? Including Xavier Howard's most recent comments in that interview he did about a week ago, right? Saying that there was no progress. The fact that Xavier Howard's got his Jalen Ramsey injury that's keeping him off the field, right? And there's been setbacks in that area, right? So, you know, people are getting all up in their feelings and their emotions, being like, Xavier Howard's not. I mean, look, Pro Football Focus said Brian Flores is keeping Xavier Howard in Miami. Now, again, I'm telling you, I hope that's the case. But here's what I got to say about it. And it's the same thing that I've been saying now for, I don't know, the past couple weeks or whatever. Or at least the past week or so. Until Xavier Howard is back on the field and practicing full capacity with the team, I ain't believing shit he's got to say, especially because he's been a proven liar on numerous occasions, including the one time where he told Laramie Tunsil to his face, okay, that he was not being traded, and then promptly traded him shortly thereafter, right? So he can fuck off as far as I'm concerned, and until it happens, I don't believe anything until it happens, I don't believe anything he has to say, and I'm going to err on the side of he's lying, because that's what he's proven to me, right? So, sorry, not sorry. If you prove to be a liar to me, you don't just, you know, magically the next time something comes out of your mouth, get the benefit of the doubt or some shit, or my support. Like, no. So there's that. Also, he says that we don't want to trade X. Okay, here, and let's actually, let's see. Let me pull up this one. And let's see if we can get some more specific, or the fuller quotes. So, okay, so yeah, this at least has a little bit more in it. Okay, so here we go. I pulled up this article because there are several of them. You know, all the writers today are just like super excited to be able to write this article. There's like 7 of them, at least in just the Bleacher Report stream. So Dolphins don't want to trade Xavier Howard despite request, head coach Brian Flores says. So real quick before I do get into the further details and the expanded quotes, look, bro, I get you might not want to. I don't want you to, right? But you don't always get what you want, first and foremost. And secondly, look, you know, I don't want to have a consistently shitty life that is, you know, dictated by, you know, the corrupt, greedy, selfish, capitalistic oligarchs that run the world, right? Like, I don't want that. I want to be happy. I would like to be happy. But unfortunately, no matter how hard I try or how hard I work or what I do, me, like most people in the world, are at a giant disadvantage because the systems are against us, right? So, you know, it doesn't fucking matter, really. The point is it doesn't always matter what you want, right? You can't get everything that you want. So it's great that you might want it to happen. That doesn't mean it's gonna. There's another story to talk about after this as more contextual data for why I'm saying the things I'm saying. But let's get through this first so we can get more of his quotes, so you can have a fuller picture. Miami Dolphins head coach Brian Flores said Friday talks are progressing. Again, but what does that mean? And the next story that I'm going to get into, which is the last bit of this video, is going to be that contextual data that I was just speaking about is going to be more reason as to why he's lying about the progress part, right? Because multiple occasions in recent interviews over the past several days, Brian Flores keeps saying that things are going in the right direction and there's progress being made, right? Like I said, I'll believe there's progress when Xavier Howard is back out on the field, doesn't have his injury anymore, and is practicing fully or participating fully with the team, either at practice or preseason games, whatever, right? So I'll believe it then, or when there's, you know, reports all over the place that they've come to terms, etc., etc. Something like that has to happen before I'm going to believe that there's progress being made. But, you know, there's contextual data around this situation to say that there isn't, including Xavier Howard himself saying that no progress had been made, right? Anyway, let's get through this because then I'll give you that extra bit of contextual information that helps to prove that point. With Xavier Howard, after the All-Pro cornerback requested a trade in July. We don't want to trade X, he says. Write that down. Okay, great. It's written down. You've told us that you don't want to. It doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean a goddamn fucking thing. One, because you're a liar and you've proven to be a liar. And two, because wants don't equal reality in so many cases. So, anyway, Flores told reporters he's a very good player. Obviously, he's a big part of the team. No shit. And we don't want to trade him. Okay, congratulations. But see, and really, honestly, if people think there's any bit of like frustration in my voice, not really. I'm not actually, people think that I get up in my emotions far too often, or far more often than I actually do. I'm not, when I get, passionate or whatever, or when my tone raises or whatever, or when I get into a, somewhat of an aggressive posture, it's not necessarily because my emotions are involved. It's just who I am. So it's just the kind of person I am. I'm a very inherently passionate person when it comes to things that I care about. So anyway, so no shit on all that, obviously, but none of that actually fucking means anything. But so, if there was any frustration, though, it would be just with, people, whether it be in the media or Dolphins fans or whatever, who look at that and then say, oh, look, there it is. That's it. That's the piece of evidence that we need that's saying that Xavier Howard's not fucking going anywhere. It doesn't mean anything. Hopefully, eventually it will mean something when, he actually gets proven correct on something and they don't trade him. But until that happens, it doesn't mean a fucking thing. And in my experience with the dude, my instinct when he says anything is that he's lying. So, anyway, continuing on. Although Howard said in his initial statement he wanted a trade because of unhappiness with his contract, he didn't rule out staying in Miami after arriving at training camp last week. That's up to the Dolphins, the two-time Pro Bowl. This is another thing too, right? It's true. It's absolutely true that Howard said he hopes it can work out with the Dolphins and he would like to stay here. People twist the framing here. So when he says that's up to the Dolphins, I'm just here with my teammates and enjoying every moment with the team, with them. That doesn't actually mean that that's not a sentence that says that he is open. Now, he has actually said those words, that he wants to stay with Miami. So he has said it, but this is not saying it. This is saying something completely different. What that's up to the Dolphins, I'm just here with my teammates enjoying my every moment with them means is the ball's in the Dolphins' court. I've said everything I can say. I've requested a trade. And unless they make me happy, that's where I stand. Otherwise, I'm just here being professional. Nothing in that particular statement has anything to do with his, desire to stay with the Dolphins. So the point there is people will take this, it's right, because it's all about the context and where these quotes actually fit. Right? So if they actually pulled the quotes of him saying, yes, I hope it works out in Miami, or, I would love to stay in Miami, or those quotes, that's a good quote to use in this particular context when talking about him, not ruling out the option of staying in Miami. Otherwise, this doesn't mean shit to that point. Right? Do people understand that? Like, and that's actually where I get frustrated though, but luckily for me, for the vast majority of it, I've decided that it's just not even worth trying to convince people, because most people are either just idiots or so far up their own, fantasy bubble ass that they just can't bear to have that shit popped. So, you know, but my frustration is trying to explain this to people and why this quote doesn't make sense in this context. It has nothing to do with it, right? Anyway, moving on. The 28-year-old Baylor product is entering his second season of a 5-year, $75.3 million contract with Miami. His deal includes $12.1 million in total cash for 2021, which ranks 12th among corners per spot track. The Buffalo Bills' Tre'Davious White leads the position at 18.3. Howard is coming off a 2020 campaign where he led the NFL in interceptions, 10, and passes defended, 20, to go along with 51 total tackles across 16 appearances. He received a strong 87.3 overall grade for Pro Football Focus, suggesting his play on tape matched his terrific numbers. The only thing that has held him back in his career is knee injuries, which have forced him to miss 24 games, blah, blah, blah. Regardless, he's in the upper, echelon of NFL corners. His ability to lock down some of the league's top wide receivers in single coverage helped Miami's defense find success last year, ranking 6th in points allowed. Losing him via either trade or contract holdout would be a major setback for the unit. The Dolphins will try to find a resolution before they open the regular season, September 12th, a road game. Okay, so, and that's that. And, you know, the quotes that they gave was basically, you know, basically all of it. I think there was a little bit more, but you get it. You get the idea. So, and look, and again, here's the thing, right? Here's another piece, and I've already mentioned this, though. Here's another piece of the contextual data. If they really wanted to fucking keep him, why is it so hard to do even one of those two things that he offered? Either bring $4 million from the 2024 season up till now to the 2021, right? Just convert it from that to this year, which would then pay him 16 point, what is it? 16 point, because he's making 12 point, he'd be making 16.1, which would put him just ahead of Byron Jones, from my understanding. And, you know, the highest paid corner on his team. And he'd be happy, or just guarantee all of next season's salary. They paid $6 million to ship Eric Flowers back to the Washington football team. If you can do that, why can't you pay this dude $4 million, right? So that's, if they really wanted him, if they really wanted to keep him, they would have just fucking done it already. Because the longer this goes on, the worse it gets for them, especially if this bleeds into the season, right? Having this drama in camp and the constant questions and conversation about it is not good. And they look like complete jackasses at every fucking step of the way, okay? So, and to be clear, I'm not emotional right now. This is just who I am, right? And this is how I hate to, because I'm about to say this is how I feel about it, but it's not about my feelings. This is just about the reality of the situation, and I'm passionate about it, right? So and it's a fact. They're being stupid. They're playing this stupid, dangerous game, and they're idiots. They're giant fucking idiots. Okay, now let's move on, though, because there is one more thing that I do want to talk about. Excuse me. Let's see. Where is it? Because the Dolphins have recently brought in, I think it's up a little further. I think it went down. Yeah, okay, so here it is. Now let's go to this article. Report, Dolphins hosted 4 cornerbacks for tryouts on Thursday. So this past Thursday, yesterday. Okay, so today is Friday. They're doing their walkthroughs today. They brought it, now to be fair, as far as I know, they didn't sign any of these guys. So that is part of the context. But why are you bringing in 4 corners? Why? Right? Because you still have Byron Jones, Noah, Nick Needham, Trill Williams, Justin Coleman, Jason McCourty. You still have technically a ton of guys in that room. And then you just brought in 4 cornerbacks for tryouts yesterday. So to me, when I see this, because this is part of the contextual data that is important to this conversation, when I see this, I'm like, you know what? No, I don't actually believe that there is progress being made. Because if there were, why would you need to bring in 4 corners? Why would you need to bring in any corners? Except maybe if you thought that, hey, soon we're going to be trading Xavier Howard and losing him, and we got to do something to fill that spot. Right? So, anyway, let's continue on. Kyle Krabs writes this article. The Miami Dolphins' ongoing standoff with cornerback Xavier Howard is something to monitor as the team ramps up for the upcoming season. The Dolphins are looking to build upon a 10-win season in 2020, and Howard himself is specifically looking to build upon a 10-interception campaign. But he's still hopeful that he'll be able to do so with a revised contract, be it by the Dolphins or someone else. Let's see. The Miami Dolphins, Howard's public trade request at the start of camp is still very much lingering, but the request has lost some of its sting as Howard has continued to attend Dolphins practices. Okay, see, and look, you guys know I actually read a lot of Kyle Krabs' stuff, but I don't know. Let's just call him a homer to be nice about it, but that's not true at all. It hasn't lost any of his sting while nursing an ankle injury. The injury is not real. It's not real. The only reason why he's at training camp and has the injury is because he's holding out. That's what it's all about. Because the way that the CBA is written and so on and so forth, right? The change in the rules. So he's being professional, he's following the rules, and he's avoiding getting fined. But don't mistake, he is and that's why I said, that is why I said, I will not believe that there is progress being made until Xavier Howard returns to the team in full capacity. Because then what that will mean is that the Jalen Ramsey holdout will be over. And then that means that they either signed something and came to agreement or it's imminent. Then you can say there's progress being made. So no, I'm sorry. It doesn't lose any of its sting. In fact, it's going to gain tremendous amount of sting if it bleeds into not just the preseason, but particularly into the season. If we get to the regular season, and I said this before, I said this in my last video, if we get to the regular season and the Dolphins have not agreed to a contract, terms with him and have not traded him, my perspective and my evaluation is I believe Xavier Howard will continue to nurse an injury. There will be some kind of lingering injury that keeps him out because, I mean, like literally, what is the point then if you're just like, something has to give here, right? I think at least we can all agree on that. Something has to give in this conversation. So that either has to be the Dolphins have to agree to, some kind of contract terms with Howard. It's either got to be that or they got to trade him. Or if it's not on the Dolphins side of things, on Xavier Howard's side of things, then he would just be like, okay, forget that I fired my agent and that I brought in a new guy. Forget that I requested a trade formally over social media, and forget the fact that I'm doing the Jalen Ramsey holdout, the new age holdout, but I'm just all of a sudden gonna stop doing that, especially when he can do that throughout the season and still get paid. He can still get paid. He won't even lose his contract for this year. So, and the money. So, like, I don't know why people think that, the Dolphins should just force him to go into the season and play. Dude, there is little to no guarantee that is what will happen. Excuse me. Little to no guarantee that Xavier Howard will just all of a sudden be like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not going to hold out anymore, even though I can hold out and get what I really want and still get paid while holding out, right? Like, what? I don't see that happening. But I hope that something happens and he does stay with the team and plays with them. I just don't see it happening. So anyway, let's continue on though. And has alluded to he will do what is needed to avoid fines. Also, let's throw in the context of that cryptic tweet he sent out a little while back before officially requesting a trade is something along the lines of, you don't know what you got until it's gone. There is no bigger time to make the Dolphins hurt in that regard than the regular season. So if they don't have him and if they don't have his production on the field, still have to pay him, but then lose value for him in a trade because he's getting a year older, etc., 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 then, bro, I'm telling you, that is a catastrophic situation for the Dolphins. They look, they could continue to play this game throughout the preseason, but they have to figure something out before the season. They either need to agree to terms with him, or they need to fucking trade him before week 1 of the regular season. They have to do that. Because if this gets into the season, I fully believe and expect Xavier Howard will continue the course that he is on and hold out into the season. Because he loses nothing. He loses absolutely nothing. He still gets paid, and then he can either force a new contract with the Dolphins, or a trade to go somewhere else where some other team will happily pay him the reasonable amount of money that he's asking. They could take on his contract and then take $4 million from 2024 and bring it up to 2021, and he would be happy. And so many other teams would be happy to do that. So many other teams to get a player at his caliber while he's still in his prime. All right, but Howard, stupid things. Okay. Anyway, so let's see. But Howard does have one thing going for him. The rest of the corners in attendance at camp have done little to provide relief to the Dolphins organization that they have the depth and or talent needed to replace Howard if they committed to playing hardball. Yeah, they absolutely should not be committing to playing hardball. That is a lose situation for the Dolphins organization, I promise you. It is bad business all around. And so, with Miami holding contractual leverage, it doesn't matter, especially for this season. They actually don't hold contractual leverage. Simply because they have him on contract for 4 more years does not necessarily, it depends on how look, if the contract wasn't written in such a way that he would be able to hold out this season and still get paid, then yes, you could say they would have contractual leverage. Because then they could force him, because then if he couldn't sit out with a Jalen Ramsey kind of injury, right, a holdout injury and still get paid, then he would be forced to play the game. And if he's forced to play, if he's actually has something, but they don't have that. The Dolphins don't have that, right? So they do not have leverage here. Again, if they play hardball, it is going to be devastating for them, I promise. Let's see. And so with and Howard holding the leverage of talent, it shouldn't come as a surprise here that Miami, perhaps in its abundance of caution, hosted a handful of corners for tryouts on Thursday. The report, and see, but that's the thing though, is this leads me to believe that the Dolphins either believe they don't have as much leverage as some people think they do, and or they realize that this is not going to come to, that they are not going to come to an agreement, and the best course of action will be to trade him at some point. The report comes from Armando Salguero of the Miami Herald. Dolphins watching situation at quarterback closely. Brought in 4 cornerbacks for tryouts Thursday. Lafayette Pitts, Trevor Williams, Alexander Myers, and KJ Sales. Cause for panic? Not yet, but this is certainly something to keep an eye on given just how much depth the Dolphins have collected at cornerback position coming into this year's camp. And that's what I'm saying. Why would you even be entertaining this idea if you really thought that things were progressing smoothly and that you were going to keep this dude? Like, really? Come on now, people. The depth of the room is considered one of the strengths of the team, but when the top level piece is out of commission, as Howard has been this week, things look out of sort. And none of the candidates here will fix that if Howard doesn't suit up for the Dolphins this year. Look, and I hope that what ends up happening is the Dolphins do the smart thing. I gotta be real though, I don't trust them, and I don't really have a lot of faith in them to do this, right? But the smart thing would be is right now through training camp and, worst case scenario, the preseason, understand how much you will suffer for not having Xavier Howard out there. How much your secondary is going to get exposed without having him out there. Okay? Learn that lesson now, and then just fucking give the dude what he wants. And do not resort to having either a trade happen or, you know, having this holdout bleed into the season. That's worst case scenario. Second worst case scenario is having to trade him. Best case scenario, or, you know, the middle scenario is that, and then the best case scenario is just fucking give him the $4 million or guarantee next year's salary. So hopefully they learn that lesson, you know, watching Noah get burned in training camp. But, you know, again, then you add in the context of Brian Flores is controlling and egotistical, and like many coaches, he feels like he can just, you know, he can make it work with the guys he's got. That's why he brought in a Jason McCourty and a Justin Coleman, right? And blah, blah, why they're also hosting these other fucking players, etc. So, look, I gotta be real. I don't have faith in them to do it, but I hope that they do, and I hope they realize it between now and the start of the season and fix this shit, because they will suffer if they don't. Let's see. But if someone is going to have to play a bigger role than anticipated, Miami may be ready for alternative options just in case. All right, and so that's the end of that. Man. So this video actually went kind of longer than I expected it to go. But look, man, you know, again, and this is how I'll wrap up, and this will be the final thing. Because look, at the end of the day, I mean, we got 2 more practices this week. We got to practice tomorrow. We got to practice, right? Is there 2 more? I think there's 2 more. There's a practice tomorrow, and I think in a practice Sunday. But anyway, so either way, right? We still have practice this week. I think we have practice tomorrow and Sunday, and then I think that they're off until Wednesday when they go to Chicago to start practicing with them before the game. I think that's what it is. So anyway, they got a little more practice this week. Then they're going to take some time off. Then they're going to go to Chicago to start their joint practices before their first preseason game. Okay, and I'm sure, you know, Flores is going to talk to the media some more, and I'm sure he's going to continue to say that things are progressing and moving in the right direction, etc., etc. My final word on that is until Xavier Howard officially returns to the team in full capacity and practices and or plays in games, I don't care about any of that shit, and I don't believe it. And I'm still going to believe, especially with all the contextual data that surrounds this situation, that's part of this situation, like these corners that they brought in for tryouts, I am going to still believe that 90+% they are going to trade Xavier Howard. And that's how it will end. So yeah, anyway, but you know, I have to say though, and real quick, final point, the closer we get to the season though, and this goes on, the higher probability I believe that Xavier Howard will then hold out through the season. And cause look, you know, I told you guys Xavier Howard, and I was actually proven correct on this. Now my initial, but to be fair, my initial prediction is that he would like just not come to training camp, and so I was wrong on that aspect, but he's still holding out. He's just doing the injury Jalen Ramsey holdout. So in the grand scheme of things, again, I tend to be off on some of my details, but when it comes to the big picture, I was proven correct because he is still holding out through training camp. So until that changes, you know, that's how I see things, and that's how I evaluate it. All right, with that, I'm going to get out of here. Hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. Of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I'm out. See y'all soon. Phins up.